Yeah, that was one of the start of the movie. The feeling after a disaster, personal disaster, any kind, you feel the world has been sort of evicted. And I went to New Orleans, and then I was wandering in the lower nines, and there was all these abandoned house, and some of them were like abandoned. It seemed like it was 5 minutes ago. Some of them were almost empty, and some of them were almost destroyed. So it kind of figured the work of the memory, like the morning work, and the moment you live with your ghost, and then you have to let them go. And I was really, I don't know how to say really, but there was a confusion between the story people told me, because I could really feel, we all have stories of dispossession, of losing everything what is familiar to you, and at the end you don't really know who you are. So people lost their home because of Katrina, and I sort of lost my identity, or actually that was the way I was feeling at the time, because of that breaking up. So there was all the time connection between my story and their stories, and so that's what I wanted to show in the movie, those connection that about dispossession, about identity, the familiar, the question what is home, and then the ability to rebuild yourself. So then I wrote a story, so I was like trying to make obvious some connection that I had felt. And yeah, and then we worked really on the how to visualize that work of the memory, because it's all past stories too. So we wanted to really figure that with the image. So we worked with the cinematographer Caroline to find a way with the camera to have an image which could figure the memory. So it's not really, it's not the reflection of reality. The image is at the beginning of the movie very torn, and when we go further in the movie, when you become able to rebuild yourself, the image can stabilize and become a reflection of reality. But at the beginning, it's really, yeah, not perfect. I really thought the pattern of the movie, like how to show that memory that get lost, is haunted, themes come back, become obsessive, and then they leave. So I try to show that in the structure itself. So you have some obsessive pattern coming back, like water, all the time, and it turns different at a certain point of the movie. And I also wanted to share the porosity, like there is no really frontier, and everything is more or less like in a nightmare or in a wandering dream. And so it's always like you're in a sequence, and then you go into another one, but you didn't really notice because you don't really know how it happened. So we really thought about the picture of Escher, you know, the perspective pictures, and how you fall into another space, into another space, into another space. And then I really wanted to figure the memory, so I thought it was important to use the voiceover and not direct sound. Also because when I went there first time, I was really amazed by the way people told me their stories. There was like kind of a poetry in the way Celtic talk, and American is especially really musical. So it sounded obvious that it had to be voiceover, because it really like you're coming back into yourself, and also because it sounded really, really beautiful. And then my voiceover is very written. I don't know, just how I wrote it and how it happened at the end. So, and then about the work of sound and image, I didn't want. It's the same for image and sound. I didn't want a realistic image because the beginning is really, the memory getting lost and stuff. So I wanted that torn image, and I wanted the sound to be like also a recollection of different sound and mixing them together. And with Agathe, the editor, we also did a huge work of creating different ambience, collecting sound and transforming sound. For example, we use some sound of water, but it turned the sound of birds, for example. So it's always, playing with the reality and the imagination, and so it's not really realistic. It's always very confusing and nightmare.